Hello, everybody. It's Tim and Terry here from Money Matters for Everybody. Hope you've been well.
Hello. Hope you had a good week. So I wanted to kick off this week kind of talking about the elephant in the room, the wildfires that we had here this week and pretty much most of the U.S. at some point. So that was a little bit crazy for us.
Yeah, it was nuts how it kind of rolled in around dinner time on Tuesday, seemingly out of nowhere. Just kind of started smelling smoke. Thought one of the neighbors was having a little bonfire in their backyard. Went out to check because the sky looked gray. It looked misty, like because it had rained a little bit around dinner time. So I thought maybe it was just raining a little bit, but it was actually the smoke coming in. And that night, TJ and I had to run out to run an errand, and it was like 7:30, so the sun should have still been out, but that smoke was blocking that sun. It just looked like a little red dot in the sky.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
I've never experienced a time like that. And I think that this is a reminder that it's critical, these fires that are happening in Canada. Usually, I guess it sounds as though they're common on the west coast of Canada, not the east. But this is why it's critical that if you live near a forest, like you need to make sure that somebody is managing the forest. When a wildfire starts, it's often because of like a lightning strike, a dry lightning strike, but they grow because the forest isn't maintained. But you're going to hear a whole lot right now about climate change, climate change, climate change. No, it's irresponsible forest management. And unless you have that in line, this isn't going to go away. This is just going to get worse. And then the other thing is, like where we live, there's actually a lot of building going up, a lot of new houses being built. And that water shelf in the Northeast is actually pretty good, but that water shelf is not, it's not impossible to break, right? You can't take it for granted. So when these communities are going up and these towns are building these new developments, there needs to be a plan for the water. Where are you going to get the water from? What's the impact going to be to the water systems in that area?
Yeah.
And you have to have a plan for that. And if you don't, you're responsible as well. So a lot of people want to come at this from climate change. And I'm going to tell you, there's nothing green about green energy. It's greed energy with a D at the end. There's nothing green about green. I have a Prius, so I do believe that we should be responsible. But there's an extent where this has gone from green energy to greed energy. So we need to be very careful. Anyhow, I'll get off my platform now. I don't want to become a conspiracy theorist on this channel. So we're also going to talk about what we spent money on this week.
This week was fairly light in terms of spending. I mean, we...
Thank heavens, because last week was not light.
I mean, just little things here and there. I think the biggest thing this week was getting a replacement filter for the air conditioning unit. And... our system uses the heavy duty MERV 16 filters, so they're about $100 a pop, but they're
annual usually.
They're rated for once a year replacement. So
and they would have been due for us probably in August, September anyway.
Yeah, the summer.
But because there were wildfires in the area, so two things I know to be common sense, right? After the smoke clears, it's a good practice to replace your air filter in your house and in your car, and then. Believe it or not, we were not COVID mask wearers. Like we would, honestly, if you told us we had to wear a mask, we would just stay home, right?
Yeah.
Like we would rather stay home than wear a mask because I don't believe they were effective. And that there's a whole rabbit hole I could go down with that. How people are getting sick now, more sick now. And I believe it's because of isolation and having worn masks during COVID that weren't really safe, effective, or useful. But the KN95 masks are actually somewhat useful.
For the type of particulates and stuff that were in the smoke.
Or if you're coughing and you have a cold and you're going somewhere and you have to go and you don't want to give somebody else your germs, like the KN95s are really like they sit off of the face enough that there's enough. They're not getting wet. They do not get wet. You can use them multiple times. You should put them in a paper bag in between uses. But we had a small stash of I think 10 in the house.
Yeah, I forget how many we had.
So we purchased, actually it's in my Amazon cart because we don't buy from Amazon that often, so we have to wait till it gets to $25 for it to be free shipping. But we purchased masks. These masks are made in the US. That's something that's important to me when it comes to masks and medical equipment. So that's the other thing. So just an FYI there for just some common sense approaches that we take. Wildfires were new, but there were some things that I felt like were common sense, like watering my lawn, right? As much as I could, clearing up. We have a wood pile out back because we do burn wood in the winter. That's how we heat our home. And we do move it away in the wintertime or summertime because it can attract bugs and ants. But if there's potential for fire, and I don't know that there was potential for fire this week, but there was ash falling from the sky. So I think it's not outside of the realm of possibility that if somebody was crazy, you could have had a problem. So anyhow. All right, so that's what we spent money on this week. We did have a change in our food menu this week. Unfortunately, Wednesday was our night for BLTs, bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwiches. But because of the wildfires, I didn't want smoky bacon in my oven. So we opted for a Sicilian pizza from our local pizza shop.
Yeah, but I mean that when we get the Sicilian pizza from the shop here, we usually last 2 meals because you get 16 slices on a square Sicilian. So
and it's hard to eat more than 2 pieces of Sicilian. Okay, maybe not for you, but for me it is. So anyhow, and then we'll have salad. Another thing I want to talk about, a new electrical supplier. So we had talked previously about how you should check into whether your electrical company offers competitive or supplier choice for finding more competitive rates. Please don't ask me how it's cheaper for me to go to another party and get my electrical supply at a cheaper rate. But our local provider, Pennsylvania Power and Light, is offering rates of 11 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour. We were able to find a provider that charged we like to have like at least a 6 month. The rates change every 6 months. So this provider, I don't remember who we went with. Do you?
No.
So terrible. Offered a rate that was like 8.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So it was like 3 to 4 cents less. And for 6 months, no enrollment fee, no cancellation fee, and no monthly fees. And then we'll monitor that. The crappy thing is you have to put it on your calendar and you have to remember to check it out because you could be locked in with them and they could jack it up to like 21 cents next time, and PP&L is going for 8 cents. So you have to be careful and mindful. I think they trip a lot of people up doing that. And I don't think it's right. I think that people wind up getting scammed essentially because PP&L can't get their crap together and offer the best rate to their customers. They are not a private company anymore, so there's that. Maybe utilities should be private. So any questions on that?
Yeah.
I know if you can tell, there's some things that get me a little fired up, so apologies. I will talk about how I wrote to President Biden this week. But I did want to talk a little bit about dining out. So now that we are out of debt, we've completed baby steps 1, 2, and 3. We're on baby steps 4, 5, and 6, and 7. And you can Google what the steps are if that's helpful, if you don't know what they are, but I won't go into that here. But now that we're out of debt, we do budget in dining out. And because Tim and I both work from home 4 days or 5 days a week. And
it's good to just get away, get out of the house and break up the routine.
From time to time is really good. Dining out is never cheaper. So don't come at me with that. Some people will try to say, well, it's cheaper. No, it's not. It never is.
Some people will try to say it's quicker, but sometimes it's not.
It's not.
Oftentimes
it never is. And it's never healthier. It's never healthier. But now that we're out of debt, I actually kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit because we have a set amount for our groceries and dining out. And we kind of put the dining out into like the entertainment budget, right? So we have dates that we try to go on once a week. Our dates, I think, are like $25 to $35. They're not usually, they're not a lot of money. Once or twice a year, we'll go celebrate. We're celebrating our anniversary or end of year stuff for the budget, talking about what we did this year, what we accomplished, what our plans are for next year. Like a planning meeting, we'll go bigger. But generally speaking, it's like $25 a week. Then with the kids, we let them pick like one meal a week that they would like, where they would like to dine out. And then we like eating out for breakfast. So a couple times a month, although it's been like the past 3 or 4 weeks. I think today was the 4th Saturday.
Well, last Saturday was a date breakfast. It was just you and I. So.
Right. So anywho, but it was just a reminder to me, there are still some reasonably priced restaurants out there. We have unfortunately had to pull back from some restaurants. We do like to support small local, but there is a restaurant in our area where the prices just went up and we can't.
They've gone up way too much.
Way too much. And we don't judge. Like, you have operating costs. You know what your operating costs are. We do not. And we respect that. But when you've gone up considerably compared to the area, I feel like you wind up shooting yourself in the foot, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, but, and it's breakfast. It's not like it. It's generally a cheaper meal to prepare. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, without a doubt. Now, the place that we have been going to lately, so a little backstory that you may not be interested in, but I'm going to say it because it's cathartic anyway. Where I was talking to Tim this week, my dad passed away. July will be 1 year since my dad passed away. My dad and his friends, they loved going out to breakfast.
They had their little rotation of what restaurants they'd go to.
We're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to go here. And when he was here, like, I could have cared less about going to breakfast at these places because I was still in this mindset of, Dad, it's just cheaper to have breakfast at home. And so And I just didn't feel the need to go out to breakfast. Whereas he was out almost every morning. It was rare that dad would have breakfast at home, but there were some good senior citizens deals for them. Like you could get eggs, toast, potatoes, and tea or coffee for like $3 or $4. And that was really, for him, it was his entertainment time too. But now that he's gone, I truly enjoy visiting those places.
Yeah.
So, and my kids do too. Because I kind of feel like he's there. He's like, his spirit is in that location. And it's really, it's been, so we're doing a couple times a week where we go to where Pop used to go. And it's a lot of,
month, not a couple times a week.
Sometimes a couple times a month. Thank you. Yeah. But my point was that like when you're out of debt, you should kick back a little bit and you should have fun, right? You should have fun with your money.
And build it into your budget so that you're not, busting things up just because you're out of debt.
Exactly. So I think that was that. Anything else on that? Let's talk about this week's menu, and then we can kind of talk about anything going on with Tiny Apple Homestead, Primetime Video, TJ's Lawn Company. Talking about a truck. We need to talk about the truck, TJ's truck. So on the menu this week, tomorrow is just a supper Sunday. So we actually do have a party to go to tomorrow. We have some leftovers still in the area. So we are in the fridge. So we'll probably just kind of be working through that. Sunday supper will probably be... A little bit of lunch
at the party and then some dinner based on what we have left here.
Yeah, so Sunday supper will kind of be postponed this week. Monday, we will have some chicken Caesar pitas. Oh, I lost it. There we go. Tuesday, fish tacos. TJ did a video talking about his deep sea fishing adventure this week. I'll try to link it in the comments below, but if you want to check it out, if you want to... This kid's an old soul and a hard worker and just so much fun to listen to. So on Wednesday, I think we'll do French toast breakfast, although I did have a Monte Cristo at the diner this week that was really good, so maybe we'll do that instead. And it was real meat. It wasn't like lunch meat. It's like real turkey and real ham. It was really good. Thursday, we'll do burgers because Ryan loves burgers and it's been a while. And then Friday, Saturday are kind of wild card. We'll clean out I have some chicken to cook up, so we'll do some grilled chicken for Caesar wraps and pitas, and then we'll also do some Greek chicken. And that's that. Maybe some tuna. We did a lot of tuna this week for lunches. So anything else?
No.
All right, cool. So let me talk about briefly, I wrote to President Biden this week. I don't write to him often because I really don't think he reads it. And previously, during COVID, I think I was very vocal. I wrote to my senators often and the president as well. I'm very respectful when I write. I'm not threatening. You don't threaten the president. But I did write a letter, and I might actually have it up here, about the student loan forgiveness program. So if I may try to find this real quick. I could even share it, but I'm not going to. So about the President Biden. Dear President Biden, I am disappointed in your recent veto of the congressional bill opposing your $400 billion student loan bailout. I am disappointed in your executive order authorizing the $400 billion student loan bailout because he wasn't authorized to do that. Okay, and we don't have to go there. I look forward to the Supreme Court correcting your error, but again, I'm disappointed that we even have to take time, energy, and money and resources to address a matter that is quite clear. I did say, Mr. President, here in America, the land of opportunity, if you take out a loan, you pay it back. It's that simple. You say you want to help the middle class, but the irony is that we middle class citizens get to pay for all of government spending, and we are tired of the sloppy and irresponsible spending in government. You are free to hand out charity to people and help them pay off their student loans out of your own pocket, should you choose to do so. Do you think he would do that with his own money?
No.
I doubt it too. Lastly, I also talked to him. You guys might not know, maybe you do by now, but our household, we're Christians, and I just gave a little bit of hope for him, that I hope that he too is a Christian, because it sure doesn't feel that way in seeing how he's behaving. And he's closer to meeting Jesus than most of us, I think. No one doesn't really ever know, okay? Right. Today could be the last day for any one of us, but I think it resonates because I did share with him, like, my dad went home last year to meet Jesus, and I know I'm going to see him again, and that's why I wasn't a crying, sobbing mess, I think, when he passed, because I know I'm going to see you again. All right, let's talk about primetime photo. Any updates going on with primetime photography?
Still lots of practice picture taking, posting onto my social medias. I finally got my business cards ordered this week, so reaching out to a couple of families that we're friends with that have kids graduating in the next week or so. See about taking some senior portraits for them. No charge to them right now, just to kind of build up my portfolio. connected with one of the neighbors to offer free family portraits for them, just so I have some pictures to put in the portfolio, build up the website. So
That's so cool.
so moving along nicely.
Great. And then I don't have TJ in here to give an update on TJ's lawn service. So you guys can go check him out over on at TJ's Lawns. So youtube.com at TJ's Lawns. Some cool stuff that he's been working on, like growing his business. He's repairing equipment and selling it. So he's going out on trash day and collecting. People are leaving equipment out for the garbage because they don't think they think it's so broken and there's no usefulness for it anymore. And he's bringing it home, tinkering with it, figuring out how it works, which God bless him, because I would probably be the person throwing it out on the curb.
Yeah, I mean, he fixed a couple of things that were just real minor things. One was like a crimped gas line. And
we shared that. It was on a snowblower, an Arian snowblower. And I said, so what's your plan for this one? He's like, oh, I'm keeping this one. This one's going to make me money this winter. And then the other one was a mower.
Yeah, a mower that just needed some carb work and some air filter replacement.
Yeah. So he put like $12 into it.
He turned around and sold it. And
it wasn't like, I mean, it was like a troubleshooting job, right? Because he went and cleaned the carburetor and he had video on that. That video wasn't as good. So we don't have full video on it. He's going to try to do a better job of getting like a really good video of when he's actually working on it. And then we can just edit it and speed it up. But that's been so fun because I updated LinkedIn this week that I am the office manager, administrator, and personal assistant at TJ's business. And this no-pay job offers the greatest benefits of raising money smart, unentitled children, you know. So anything else?
No.
All right. And then I'm going to talk briefly about some of the things I wrote about on Substack this week. Over the past couple weeks, I try to write every day. I think that if you want to write, you need to write every day. If you want to grow in your writing life, you need to write every day. If you want to grow in your spiritual life, you need to pray every day. If you want to grow in your relationship with your partner, you need to talk and communicate every day. I think we do that well. Wherever you want to grow, you simply just have to put in the time. Right. So for a while there, I was writing like 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, and that got really like draining. It was fun because I felt like I had a lot of material to talk about, but now I've kind of backed off and I'm going to be kind of just maybe twice a week, I think Monday, Friday. So this week I talked about summertime being almost here. I talked about how summer for us typically means like we go on one vacation, but we go to the ballpark and we go to the beach and we go to the amusement park and we go deep sea fishing and we camp. We do fun things.
Yeah.
And all of these things can be done on a budget. Like outside of going on vacation, when we do go on vacation, I find, I don't know, I feel like when we do go on vacation, it's impossible to make it like super in budget, but we could, if we had to.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, we go with a budget and we stick to our budget.
Right.
We don't, it's hard to do it quote unquote cheap.
Yes.
But we know what our budget is going into it, and there's been very few vacations or trips where we've not stuck to what we said our plan was.
And that is the key. Like we sit down and we try to put together a reasonable budget, not a low budget, not a reasonable budget. So we say this is how much we think we're going to spend on this trip, and we plan it out. I have a template out there on Etsy that you can check out if you're interested, but we do it so that typically we're coming in under budget because we're very reasonable about what we think we're going to spend. And you put a little buffer in there. But
yeah, so some of the things like to do there, look for hotels that include breakfast.
You could, definitely. Or you could fast through breakfast. I mean, there's a lot of, if you look at a hotel that offers breakfast, compare it to one that doesn't, and then what the prices in the area are. So yeah, does it like you can, I guess, have this, you only live once and we're just going to figure it out as we go, but we're planners, we're project managers by design. That's our career background. So I think that's what we do. But summer, unfortunately, as well, is the start of this phenomenon for us. It's like the second half of the year, like downward, like spiral. So I feel like January to May, June, we're pretty calm and quiet with spending, and outside of the car troubles this year, right? Everything's pretty even keeled. Once we get into summer and beyond summer vacation, there's stuff that comes up in fall, getting through Christmas time, everything, I feel like we're just constantly shelling out money in the second half of the year. So it's really critical that we put together a budget and we stick to it. And then if we have extra money in the budget, that we put that money aside with the intent that, okay, this is going to buffer us through the end of the year, because it's impossible to truly predict everything that could come up. So when you have your emergency fund in place, it just makes like a car breaking down a mere inconvenience. So $1,500 this month that I had to put out of my pocket to pay for my car, I was able to fit that in to the budget. Actually, I sat down after our meeting last week and I was working through the numbers and finally fully reconciling May. Give myself a couple days to fully reconcile May. By the end of the first week of June, May was reconciled, and I was like, oh, we had $1,600 last month of extra. So I was able to take that and kind of roll that forward and now pay back the emergency fund with that. And it just puts you in a place where you're just so much better off.
Yeah.
You find peace, and you can go through what feels like a crisis. And please, I'm not downplaying. Like, I was scared that day when my car was breaking down on a major highway. Like, I was scared. People fly on that highway, and I've seen enough to know that people get killed on the side of the highway. But by the grace of God, I did call Tim, and he's like, how far are you from the exit? And he kind of walked me through and said, just start your car up and just go really slow, like goat cart slow, and get yourself to the exit, and then hopefully you'll be fine. But it's not worth you dying on the side of this road if somebody doesn't see you when they hit you, even if you're on the shoulder. So he walked me through that, and by the grace of God, like less than a quarter mile away, there was a much wider shoulder that I probably should have known was there, but I don't drive it that highway that often to have it mapped in my brain. I know it now. So, but that was just a reminder that if that's why we have to budget. Okay. There's certain parts of me for the longest time that didn't want to budget. That was budget resistant. I don't want to budget. It's too restrictive. I don't want to budget. I shouldn't have to budget. I make too much money. Like, we've had these conversations, right? I make too much money to feel so poor. And sometimes we still have that conversation, and Tim is kind enough. I think we have this dialogue, right? That we've had this conversation enough that when I get into that mood, I feel like it's the devil pulling on me, right? This entitlement behavior. Tim's response to that is, we have enough. We have plenty. And actually, Rachel Cruz did a video recently on, we're the upper class. Did you know that? Sure doesn't feel like I live in the upper class, but she said so, and we trust Rachel. So anyhow, so I do want to encourage you that a written budget is not restrictive. Okay. It brings awareness to you to where your money's going. And I know that might sound silly. Like, it might be like, of course I know where my money's going. I'm going to argue with you on that, because again, our fool's tale was how much money we were spending on food.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And sure, we knew where the money was going, right? But it wasn't until it was actually written down on paper, or, in this pretty little thing, that we knew that, oh my gosh, we have a problem here, Tim. If we can cut down this food budget by 20%, 25%, we can get out of debt. We can cut this food budget down by 25%. We can go on an extra vacation each year. So I want to encourage you, just write a budget. Anything else to add there? No. Did I send that home? Was that enough? And then the second thing that I wrote an article about this week was learning to be content. Is that a hard one? Yeah. Yeah. For a lot of people, I think it is. You can be happy with what you have. And learning to be content, I'm not sure. Like, I wrote in this article that it's like a new superpower, right? Like, growing up, I was the youngest of 7. I was persistent. I was hardworking. I was gritty. Like, I had so much grit and determination. If I said I was going to do something, I did it. And my dad oftentimes would sit in this house and remind us of that. When Terry put her mind to something, set her mind to something, that was it. She was making that decision. That terrified me when I stopped my master's in nursing, because I felt like for the first time in my life, I was going to give up. But really what I was going to do was I was going to learn to be content. Right. So I didn't write that in this article, by the way, just so you know. He does proof my articles, because sometimes I get really passionate and I'll miss words and whatnot. So learning to be content, it doesn't come naturally. I am doubtful that it comes naturally to anybody. It is a skill that needs to be practiced. And how do you practice, and how do you find contentment? So I wrote in this article about what being content means. It's being happy with what you have. You can chase, oh my goodness, you could work yourself into the ground chasing after things that you think are going to make you happy, only to arrive there and realize, I'm let down. Yeah. Yeah. It's always going to be something that'll make you happier. Always. And I can tell you, having 4 degrees, that every time I completed a degree, I would walk away. Every time I earned a degree, there would be a period afterwards that I fell into like a depression. Yeah, because what you'd been working for was over. What do you do now? It's like anticlimactic. So, and you could chase forever, and the educational system will gladly accept your dollars. Like, I mean, seriously, to the tune of, it's out of control, the educational system, in my opinion. That's a conversation for another day, though. But really, it was getting out of debt that changed everything. It was getting out of debt that made me more content. And here was an example that I put in here. How I would go to Starbucks a couple times a year. Like, not every week. I was never a Starbucks every week girl, okay? I could see that one train wreck coming from a mile away. You imagine going to Starbucks every week? Every week.
Day, even some people do.
Some people do every day, and I just can't. And pop that into the calculator on Dave Ramsey's website and see how many millions of dollars you're losing in retirement. But YOLO. So, but we can really work hard chasing after the belief that we can have it all. And I guess you're only going to have it all when you find a place to be content. So some of the ways that we work on being content, we get outside, because fresh air, vitamin D are two of nature's best contentment medicines.
Yes.
Fresh air and sunshine. And I will tell you, our youngest goes to a school where they let them go outside after lunch regardless. That building in particular, so much natural light comes through that building. It is incredible.
Courtyards and everything.
Get outside. We volunteer. If you feel like you're in a funk or you're feeling sorry for yourself, get your butt out the door and volunteer. Because when you step outside of your pity party and start stepping in and helping somebody else, it's hard to walk away feeling it's like you're still in your pity party when you've helped lift somebody else up.
Right. Absolutely.
It feels good to help others, and serving others is a surefire way to get yourself out of the funk. Be thankful and be grateful. We are thankful and grateful all the time. It's hard to be thankful and grateful when you're so focused on, oh my gosh, I have so much debt to pay. I have to work, and blah, blah, blah. And you have no margin and your time is short. It's hard to be grateful and thankful. TJ woke up on the wrong side of the bed today for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
He
What's
told
up
me.
with that?
He's like, I woke up. Well, I'll tell you what happened. 3 nights ago, Wednesday night, he went to bed at normal time. So he had church Wednesday night, and he got to bed at 10?
Yeah.
And he got up at 2 a.m. to go deep sea fishing. Lack of sleep leads to mental health issues. And he did try to catch up, the night after, he kind of caught up a little bit, and yesterday morning caught up a little bit, probably too much.
Yeah, I was falling asleep watching TV.
Yeah. And then today he got up, his brain woke him up at 6:30, 7 o'clock normal time, and he didn't want to get up. So he was a little grumpy. So we went to breakfast this morning, and he's like, I was grumpy this morning, and I don't know why. And I had said to him, name 3 things you're grateful for. What are you grateful for? And he said right off the bat, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful that we're having this beautiful breakfast today. Done. Do you feel better? I do. Cool. So being thankful and being grateful. Some leaders I admire often admit that this is a strategy that they do every single day. They will write down what they're grateful for. And then the last thing I put in here, which was kind of like a curveball, was to delay spending. So, and I could have tied this up a little bit better, or tidied it up a little bit. So comparison. Right. I personally have a couple neighbors who have brought home newer cars. They're getting their siding replaced. It would be so easy to be like, oh, Tay.
They're doing it. We should do it.
We do that too. And he would never tell me no. Right. You'd be like, sure, let's fit it in the budget. What are we going to forego to do those things? But delay spending, especially larger ticket items where you can delay. It's not a need, it's a want. We will typically wait it out. Whether it be a week, a month, a year, a couple years. There's been things we waited out a couple years. And while waiting it out, we sometimes find that we don't even need it at all.
Right.
That we can do without. We can live without it.
But the things that we do delay, and then when we do make that purchase, we tend to appreciate it a little bit better.
Yeah, you're satisfied. You're not you don't regret it.
Right.
You don't have buyer's remorse. Maybe you're ticked off because I just spent a couple $1,000s on something, but you've made this decision, you've intentionally set this money aside, and you're going to take it, and you pay cash. When you take cash, it hurts, and that makes you more intentional.
Right.
And you can sometimes get a discount. I know for our car dealership, they only take cash or check, which leads me to the final thing. So we talked about this contentment. So find ways to be content. And the other thing is that contentment is contagious. So if you're content, your kids are going to see it. Your kids are going to learn to be content. And I don't know about you, but anything that we do in this world, if our kids do it better than we do, it's a win.
Absolutely.
I hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.